beasts, aren't they? Chuffed to bits. The smallest little thornback. I'm just concentrating on not leaving the rod over the side. And its eyes. It's got amazing eyes. Doggy in the boat. Golden mullet. There's a bit of weight to that, you know. And that's what we want, don't we? We don't want the same all the time. We want something different, a good old show. Hello and welcome to the channel. And welcome to the workshop on what is a cold December day. What am I up to? I've got loads to do. Loads and loads to do. So some things we can cover today, things that I think might be of interest. I've got to give my rods a quick oily wipe down, get them back into their sleeves. They were washed yesterday and they've air dried overnight. We've got some hand warmer stuff to discuss. We've got some reels to sort out, some nice multipliers. We've got some Christmas stuff to discuss. So we've got the stubby. A little thermos flask. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that is, when we get into that in a minute, I'm really pleased with that. And Mrs. W bought me some Vass stubby boots. They're like completely sealed and thermal lined. Again, I'm spoiled. I'm a spoiled little boy. We've got some batteries on charge. We can talk about battery conditioning and really stop the jibber jabber and get on with it. So first things first, as always, with the log fire on. It's only just been lit. Until it warms up, it will crackle and pop and do its bits and pieces. It will be noisy. So if you're wondering what's going on in the background, that's what it is. Normal stuff. FS365, talked about it loads of times on the channel. This may be a bit repetitive to those that have seen this before, but while I'm just prepping and getting some of my other stuff ready, I just need to give these a quick spray. So I do spray directly onto the eyes, because that is, as far as I'm concerned, the area that needs all the attention. With the cloth behind it, a soft microfiber cloth, it catches all the overspray, so none of it's wasted. And I just really want to work that into all the areas around the eye. And the reason why I'm so fussy about that kind of stuff, a little bit of smoke coming out of the burner today. I must have put a bit of wood on there that's got some oil or something on it. Getting distracted. And especially around the tip eye, because the tip eye is the one that it gets absolutely caned. It takes all of the abuse. That's where the weed always backs up first. That's the one with the most connection points when you look at it. And it's also the most fragile, I think, because when you look at it, it is actually the smallest. So without spraying anymore, and careful not to get it onto the hand positionings, just give this a quick going over. And also around the reel seat, especially around the threaded bit. Don't want any dust, grit, sand, gubbins in there at all. So that's the routine. And what it actually does is it's a salt neutralizer. This isn't a sales pitch, you know, I think it might be helpful to some people. You put your rod back in its bag after your session, you come to take it out, you think, oh my lord, what's happened to that? And it's rusting wherever it can rust, and it's looking all a bit mank. So it's a salt neutralizer and a rust inhibitor. It's just an inhibitor, but it creeps. It's very fluid. It's very watery. It will get into all the gubbins. And gubbins is what you need. So just having been washed and rinsed, for most people, that's enough. That is absolutely enough. I'm not saying that you have to do this. It's just an aftercare routine that I like to do. I try not to clatter it around the roof of my garage, my workshop. Yeah. So just the same routine, and then what I'll do is while I get on with something else, I'll let these like air dry, and what you find is there'll be absolutely no residue at all. None at all, which is pretty much the biggest selling point for me. If it does what it says, and then it leaves no residue. That's a win-win. Try not to have metal on metal contact. I know that sounds silly after I just clattered one of my rods, but I do my best. Nobody's perfect. Okay, so what we've got is rods have just been done. I'm drying out, just making sure that they are bone dry, the rod sleeves. And the rod sleeves that I'm using, these are amazing. These are the Ian Gold. So obviously sad passing of Ian Gold this year. I'm sure he's sorely missed amongst the fishing community. But these are padded bags, lightly padded, and really heavy duty, you know. Real good stuff. So what we'll do is we'll put them to one side for now, because they are bone dry. They've been air dried out. And they were next to the log burner for the last time I had it on, so they are nice and dry. You can feel they're nice and dry. Yeah, so what can we talk about? Well, first things first, Merry Christmas to everyone. Look what I got. I got a little thermos stubby. And you're like, well, what's so impressive about that? It's the numbers, 470ml. It's the exact size for a can of soup. A normal can. So you can have a can of soup and use the cup. I know, it sounds obvious, I know, but bear with me. And then when you look at it, it's a vacuum formed one. So you can preheat this. You can boil the kettle, half fill it, lightly put the lid on. Don't put it on too tight because it will try and expand. Really pre-warm that through. Microwave your soup so it's proper nuclear hot. Tip out the water, tip in the soup, lid on. And this is the clencher for me. I love this. It's got a spoon. It's got a built-in spoon in the top. So let's have a look at that. And I'll explain why that excites me. It concertina folds out. So you just unwind it. But it's a really good spoon. Look at that. It's brilliant. The little thought and engineering that went into that. And then that sits perfectly in the top of the lid. And there we go, he says, struggling. No, I'm not. I'm just fingers and thumbs. And you're never going to lose that spoon. Because when you put the lid on, it's captive. So I'm going to... Right, so this says it will keep things hot for 9 hours. Preheat, get this scalding, it'll be good. And keeps things cold for 14. Well, we don't need cold, do we? Who needs cold? It's cold enough out there as it is. I'm just getting rid of that label then. Get rid of some of these stickeries. You know, the ones that says it's made in China. And all the precautions, you know, be careful, it's hot. Well, yeah, the label says that. Invented in the United States, but made in China. There's a political summary for you. With China's economy growing at the rate it's growing. The biggest economy in the world. Taken over from the Americans. Yeah, look at that. It's a stubby and I love it. So the other aspect to that I'm really going to enjoy trying out, just throw that in the fire, wait, Jack, is I like the tins of ravioli. The ones I like personally, made by Heinz, other varieties are available, but you can get them really hot and it's solids. It's not just soup, is it? Put that in there. You've got a nice warm meal and your flask of coffee. That, to me, is an absolute winner. So next one, while we're on the subject of show and tell, it's like being at school, isn't it? What did Johnny get for Christmas? I got these vast booties. On the recommendation, paid all my own money, of Bill from Bill's Tackle and Bait, short booties, but with no, there's no laces, they are sealed and thermal lined. So when they're done up, they're just like a really tidy, nice, short welly. Because wellies sometimes are all a little bit too much, aren't they? You don't want a welly. And where these are particularly useful, and where I'm excited to use them most, I'm going to wear the bejesus out of them. I'm going to try and break them. When I say try and break them, I'm not going to try and break them, but you know, I'm going to use them to proper extent of what they're capable of, is in the boat. Because the cold draws up through the floor. And being thermal, with a little bit of a grippy sole, but not too crazy, it will insulate my foot, or my feet. But also, when you get splashed and all, you know, give you that little bit of waterproofness without having to have a full welly. So I'm really keen to try these out. Excited about these as well. One thing I didn't get for Christmas, but I have been trying out, and I think is absolutely amazing. And it's a forgotten entity to me, and I've sort of refound it again. It's not I found, you know, inventing the wheel, just that I haven't used one for a long time. I think I was a kid. Then when you used to get hand warmers with the little charcoal briquette, and you'd light the briquette and put it in, and it would smoulder away, and you'd have like a bonfire in your pocket. Well, I've tried the chemical versions, the little packets that are air activated and all that. They're not the same. They're just not. I'm going to have to put some more wood on the fire. What I have got is this Zippo one. And it's pretty impressive. You fill that piece with fuel. It's got like they call it a catalyzer. You light that. And then you get about 6 to 8 hours. You get about 6 to 8 hours of burn time. But believe it or not, that gets really hot. Really hot. And then it goes inside its little velvety bag. Drawstring up, and in your skyrocket, in your pocket, warm as toast, really warm. You wouldn't take it out of the bag, it's too hot. So you've got to keep it in the bag. Now I thought I'd try it out. I have, and I like it that much. I'm going to go and buy another. So I got two. I didn't want to buy two to start with in case I didn't like it. But definitely, 100% in this cold weather, one in each pocket. You can just feel it warm in your core, and when you've done your bait change, hands in your pockets, round your hand warmers, stunning. What you actually use is a lighter fluid, believe it or not. You fill that with petrol. There's the petrol. And then, because you never know what conditions you're going to use to light it, I use like one of these super duper little heavy duty gas lighters. That needs topping up, that needs topping up, ready for the next trip. I only ever top them up just before I go, because I don't want that sat around full of petrol. It sounds wrong, doesn't it? Fill it with petrol and set fire to it. Put it in your pocket. Goes against everything you were ever told. But Zippo hand warmers, another absolute stunner. Now then, what we are going to talk about, and what I'm interested to talk about, have you noticed, especially this time of year, winter, head torch blazing away, and it lasts 2/3 as long. Believe it or not, and it is it's a proper thing, the temperature affects your battery performance. So whereas in the summer at night, on my head torch, I used to get away with just one set of batteries, in the winter now, I'm quite regularly, if I do a full winter session, 4 to 6 hours, having to do a battery change, 3 to 4 hours in. And that's not because there's anything wrong with the batteries, that's the effect that the cold has on them. So what we can look now at and talk about is a little bit of battery conditioning. Because if you look after your batteries, they'll look after you. And the first thing is the size. So these are like standard vape, what people see in vapes. And what I will say is, the ones that come from vaping specialists, if you go in and speak to someone in one of these shops that sell vape machines, you know, with a big cloud of smoke and everything, they'll be able to talk you backwards and forwards to Hollywood and back, purely on the basis of the batteries, you know, because batteries is everything for vaping. And this is an 18650, which is the Styler battery, and it's a 2600 milliamp. So it's quite a butch battery, it's quite a good battery. But these were Fenix ones, and Fenix ones were quite expensive. Quite expensive when if you go to speak to a specialist about these batteries, they'll try and sell you one for half the price that lasts twice as long. And they know what they're talking about. What I have got is 2 full sets. So I keep a charge set in their cases, and this set are in the conditioner on the wall at the moment, and they're charging. They will go actually in the unit itself. So protect your batteries. You don't want any shortages where this will touch 2 pieces of metal or something that it shouldn't do. So keep them in their little cases, and these will actually go in the light source unit themselves. So these are on charge in a battery conditioner, which will monitor how the battery charges, how charged it is, and give you performance data about it. Just make sure the connections are correct and it's doing its thing, and it will say how long it took to charge. It will give you an idea of the battery health basically. And once they're fully charged, I'll put those in and top them up and do a conditioning charge as well. So before I even go, both sets are put back into the conditioner, and the conditioner will actually do all its bits and pieces. So the conditioner itself at the moment is showing the voltage and the level of charge. It will go through the milliamps, the time, and back to the voltage again. And you can check that for both. It's not getting a milliamp reading there for some reason. It's probably going through like a check cycle, and the time and the voltage as it stands. So they will, or that unit will, condition charge those batteries and get the best performance that you can out of them. Anyone recognise what that little character is? He's been up on the shelf for quite some time now. Bonus points to anyone that can put in the comments and tell me what that is. If you know, you know. I think you've got to be a bit of a petrol head to understand what that is. My next job for today, I bought these reels second hand. Bought them off of FaceBay. So always keep an eye out on things, see if things crop up. And it's my intention, these are Daiwa Millionaire Tournament, but they're non-magged. So they've got the little screw settings on the side. They're not perfect. They haven't had a hard life. But what I don't know, perfect for the boat, what I don't know is the state of the line. Now, to be honest, it looks pretty good. It looks like quality line. You're saying, well, how do you know it's quality line, Mark? It's just, I don't know the brand, but it doesn't look like cheap line. But I'm not going to trust it, because there's nothing worse if you've got some line, trusting something you don't know. I don't know if there's any kinks or nicks, or if there's a join in it somewhere, or if there's a weak spot, what backing they put on it. You know, it could be packed out with insulating tape and have 50 yards of line on top. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. So what I'm going to do is re-spool the line on this. I'm going to strip the line on this. I've got some nice F1 Ultima 18 pound, which for that size reel looks about right. I intend pairing that reel up with a lightweight ugly stick for bream fishing in the summer as a preparation for next year, and also just for lighter species when I'm targeting from the boat, maybe for when I go place fishing as well. It'd be nice to catch them on light gear and get a full-on battle out of them. So I've got the F1 Ultima to go on them, and what I've also got is I've got this line spooling station, and it all seems a little bit, you're like, well, what's that? I've managed it before. I've worked it with stuff on the vise in the workshop, but I bought this some time ago. And what it's got a stand that will tension the spool and somewhere to put the reel. So I am going to set this up. I'm going to use it to help me strip the line, and then definitely help me to load the line. So if we reposition the camera and get this set up, we'll give it a go. Load up both of those reels. That's the next job in the workshop. So I've got my comfy chair, and I've got my station sort of, this is how I would like to work. This thing has actually got rubberized feet, so it works quite well where it just grips itself. What there is inside here, and I'll completely be honest, I've never really used it. It's a line stripper. Take that out completely. Never used it. I don't even know if I've got any batteries that would fit it. This is the frame that holds everything in place, as in the spool of line. And what we can do, if we just look at that, get that into position. Seagulls in the background. Take the line clip off, and I have it feeding over the top. And if you look at it, what you're looking for to achieve really is to centralise everything and put a little bit of tension on it. Not a lot, just a little bit. And that might be a little bit too much. Quite easy to adjust. That's the line aspect sorted. But what I actually need to do first is strip the line from these reels. What you've actually got now is somewhere that you can pull the line off. It's not a spectator sport. And looking at it now, even diameter, it's quite a thick diameter line this. So I'm not sure if it's £20, it might be £20. But yeah, I'm going to speed the camera up because this could get boring quick, couldn't it? Interesting to me because I'm checking it out as I'm doing it. But actually, let's speed the camera up. Right, we're getting towards the end now. And there was no backing, it was lined straight through. What I find interesting, because I didn't do these, it was done by someone else. So just to have a quick look and see how reliable their end termination was. I just pulled that and that came off. So not that I think that we was ever going to get all the way to the end of a spooler line, because that was heavily loaded. But yeah, we've got a clear reel ready to be re-spooled. There are line collection stations being put in a lot of tackle shops now, even on beaches as well. So there's no excuses for leaving it lying around. There's plenty of places where it can be responsibly disposed of. And now we will look at my end termination. Just loosen that off a little bit. And following the lay, so going over the top and then feed from under. And then my knot of preference, there are all sorts of ideas and people can do any manner of different ways. I like to use a uni knot. And you could use a uni knot for every single item of what you do. So your junction to the reel, uni knot. Your junction, if that was backing to your main line, a double uni knot. A double uni knot to your shock leader. And all of the knots on your rig, on the actual end tackle, terminal tackle, you could use a uni knot. So if you was to ever learn one knot and one knot only, and it be reliable for most British coastal fishing, I'm choosing my words carefully because there's always going to be an exception. There will always be an exception. You couldn't go far wrong with learning the uni knot. Now I've placed that dead centre, and I'm going to take, just tighten up on the drag slightly, large spiral winds to the outer edge, large spiral winds crossing to the opposite outer edge. Notice I'm going very slowly at the moment, and at the moment I'm large spiral winding either way. Working at the edge and then large spiral winds back. When I've got 3 or 4 lays of that, then I'll start to speed up and start to lay the line. And lay the line as if you were a level wind. So creep it across. Tends to work better if you're a little bit further away from the reel, so you're not too close. Maintaining a tension on the line. If this was braid, I would have soaked the braid in a bucket of water. It tends to work better when it's wet than when it's dry. But this is mono. And then we just go continuously from side to side. And again, not much of a spectator sport, but what you don't want to do, especially at the ends, is have a gathering where the whole spindle isn't really quite level. It's quite easy to gather more at the ends. So even go a little bit short, or don't pause as long. Just the timing of how you move it can have quite an effect on how well it lays. And then we'll just continue this until we're loaded. I am going to put a wind-on leader onto this. Not a super heavy one, but just because this is only light mono for boat fishing, a wind-on leader will just protect the end piece. Just from normal wear and tear and abrasion. This 18-pound mono's not got much oomph to it, considering I'm going to use it from a boat. But it's going to be nice to fish for the smaller species, especially for black bream, maybe even mackerel, fishing light for mackerel, only a couple of feathers rather than a full train of feathers. This would be quite nice to fight and battle with the tings in the winter, just because put a single like lure, large feather, small lure, baited, and lower that down would give good sport. And just concentrating on trying to keep the windings as even as possible. Okay. And that's it, nicely even throughout. And I'm just going to snip that off where that is now. And I'm trying to decide what size rubbing leader I want to use. I don't want anything too heavy, to be honest. Let's have a look, see what we got. Let's have a look. Oh, whoa, shiny. So what have we got? 100 pound too strong, 80 pound I think is going to be too strong. Let's have a look. 70 pound might be good. 150 pound, that's way too strong. What have we got here? 60 pound. So, and I certainly don't want to use fluoro. Right, 60 pound. I think I'm going to go 60 pound for a rubbing leader. Let's bring that back. One, two, go 3 arm lengths. I use Solingen nail clippers, which are a good quality nail clipper. If that was a fishing specific item, you could add the fishing tacks onto it, but German made stainless steel nail clippers, and because they're not fishing orientated, they haven't got the fishing tacks on them, they're quite reasonable. When I say reasonable, a few pounds. They'd be, I wouldn't even like to think, if you put the fishing tacks on them, there'd be a lot more. I'm going to go for the good old fashioned overhand knot in the leader. Pass the main line through that and draw that leader knot down, and then go for the 7 turns, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then through the loop. Start to cinch everything down nice, start to pull it all together. And then tag it all off. Beauty of these nail clippers is their sharpness, and they stay sharp. Just check and have a look at the knot, make sure I'm happy with it, make sure it's all dressed down, all cinched up, and then we can wind that on. And just because this line is so thin, because we're going to be fishing for small fish, small species with this setup, and I like using mono because of the stretch it gives. And then we just wind it on nicely. And I think I'm going to finish it off with a clip so it's ready just for rig straight away. These are pieces that I've harvested off of old rigs. Bits that I've looked at and thought to myself, yeah, I can use that again, or no, and it goes in the bin, disposed of correctly. This is a Termination, Trident Termination. I'm just going to put that on the end. And then what I like to do is I feed the line over the top of the reel. I do clip it down. I know probably some people will look at that and go, oh, don't do that. And then I don't do it up too tight. So that is one Millionaire Tournament non-magged, line loaded with a wind-on leader, ready for small species hunting. But I figured this one out. I'm going to make these up with 2 lightweight ugly sticks for place fishing February, March. That's the plan that I've got for those. As you can see, that's how far ahead we're planning. Yeah, so some place fishing with some very specialist place rigs, may I add. One down, one more to go. So that is those 2 reels now loaded with 18-pound main line, 60-pound wind-on leader, shock leader. The pair of Millionaires, the difference between them, so they're all Millionaires. These are Millionaire Tournament 7HT, 3 ball bearing, and these are Millionaire Tournament 7HT, don't know how many ball Magno Fouge, but the difference is these are magged. So the big difference between these 2 sets of reels, these are the ones I'm using for beach casting at the moment. They're the magged Millionaires. These are the ones that I'm going to be using from the boat for lighter species, and they're 7HT Millionaire non-mag. I've also got the Slosh 30s on the 30-pound rods. I've got Shimano TLDs on the 50-pound rods. So between those, there's a lot of reels when you come to think of it. But predominantly beach fishing, predominantly light boat, medium to heavy. I do intend getting some heavy shark type gear for 2022. Got to shop around a little bit. Supplies are short in you know, everyone's out of stock, and people are struggling with all sorts at the moment. Probably looking at Shimano roller tips and some heavy Shimano 2-speed lever drag reels for that kind of fishing. I'm turning into a bit of a Daiwa fan, aren't I? I'm not sponsored or anything. All of this gear is my own stuff. All 4 of those reels, if you think I'm splashing the cash, all 4 of those have been bought second hand. My other boat reels I did buy new, but I bought them when they were on offer. So you can shop canny. But yeah, second hand, FaceBay. I just put search items in and keep an eye on stuff. Giving away all the tricks now. Everyone else will buy everything I'm looking at. I won't buy anything. So that's the reels done. That was the job. My rods need to go back in the rod bags. prior to packing up for today. So I need to do that before I forget. That was the whole reason for oiling and then letting them air dry. Jasper's just come in. Come on, babe. Come here then. Come here. You alright, bub? He's a good boy. He's my special boy. Come on in. Hello. Hey, he's a good boy. Yeah. He's desperate for me to go outside. He's probably seen a frog or a mouse or something. He wants to show me something. I'll come out in a minute, mate. I'll come out and you can show me in a minute. He's like, Dad, come and have a look at this. It's a creature. He is funny. He does make me laugh. For storing the rods, not long term, but you know, like more than just overnight, I do like to put them back in their sleeves, because my workshop being concrete, you do get an element of condensation in it. It's not, it's weatherproof, but it's not completely bone dry. So at some point in the future, and I mean the distant future, because I've got a never-ending list of jobs to do, the intention is to build like a log cabin, like a man cave, like a proper man cave, that will have plumbed-in heating, a radiator system that comes off of the log burner, so you get the immediate heat from the log burner, but also it will heat water. All the creature comforts of home, you know, and somewhere that a clean film studio with a designated studio bench, if that makes sense. I've got an idea in my head that doesn't quite work in this workshop because it's too far gone down the route of where it already was. You could say I could rip it all out, but I use this. I'm used to use everything has a place, and anyone that's used to that, you don't want to change things, do you? But if I was to build something from scratch, I have some very specific ideas of things I'd like to do. So storing of your kit is really important. Cleaning, looking after. If you're lucky enough to be able to keep this indoors, obviously that's all temperature controlled and it's not damp and stuff like this. So if you keep it in an understairs cupboard, or you got somewhere at home that the missus Mr. or Mrs. allows you to have as a spare room's perfect, isn't it? I'd love to have a spare room in the house. Unfortunately, I'm not that much of a baron. I haven't got that much money. Maybe when the kids move out. Fires going there in the background, going crackers. What I am lucky though is Mrs. W just give me a quick shout. I was like, first reaction, oh, what have I done wrong? I'm out in the workshop, maybe I shouldn't be. She just lets me get on with it. I'm out of the way, ain't I? I'm not in the way. But what she did just do, Jasper's found something. He's going to present me with a, oh, you found a stone. Thank you, mate. What am I supposed to do with that? He's got a thing about stones at the moment. He goes and finds like a special stone to him and he presents it to me. Mrs. W just come out. Look what she brought. Jam and cream on scones. Hot chocolate. How cool is that? Right. Oh, what am I supposed to do with that stone, mate? He's staring at me. Look, let's have a look. You won't believe me unless I show you. So that is the stone he's presenting to me at the moment. It's a nice stone. Is that a nice stone, mate? What am I supposed to do with that? You're going to clatter your teeth, but you're going to do it whether I try and stop you or not anyway. And then he's just going, yeah, he's all 6s and 7s. Jasper, drop it. That's a nice stone, mate. He's in that case, isn't he? Well, that's about it for me from the workshop today. I don't want to let my chocolate go cold, and I've got scones to eat. Jasper's pestering me with his posh stone. So all that really leaves me to say is goodbye for now. tight lines, happy fishing. From me, from here, for now, it's goodbye. Look at all the weight I've lost. Fitness. Getting out and about, doing my stuff. Dancing, disco dancing, got the moves. Yeah, so losing the weight, not a New Year's resolution. I started doing this before Christmas. I don't like all that New Year's resolution rubbish. Oh, got to do it for New Year. We'll just do it anyway. So that's it. Thank you for joining me. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.